for the first time in history probably, we are really free from theoretical frameworks, from ideologies. I mean, we can work on a common culture made of openness, made of, it has to be humble, it has to be pragmatic, it has to be multicultural, it has to be multidisciplinary, it can be creative. And sometimes we do not realize how lucky we are. That was not the case until a few decades ago. Today we can look at all these choices with an intellectual freedom that was never available before. Creativity becomes the key factor for success. Creativity comes from the combination, the mingling of disciplines, of cultures, of experiences, of attitudes. And in rooms like this one, with faces of people coming from all over the world, creativity can create the new, can cope with problems and opportunities that were unknown until a few decades ago. China and Italy, we can both base this effort on thousands of years of history, and that is not irrelevant. If I can put, for one thing, China and Italy in the same ranking, that would be the league of the cultural superpowers, because of this very, very long history we have with us. But that's another instrument we can use to understand the differences amongst the very different models of managing economies and societies in the world. So we will do whatever we can to increase the mutual understanding between China and Italy, because we were very convinced that from this mutual, stronger, deeper understanding, also a lot of benefits can come to both countries. To the students, we cordially invite you to study in Italy. A larger and larger number of students are coming from China to Italy, and a larger and larger number of students are coming from Italy to China. My son was one of them, and we believe that from these increasing exchanges between the two countries in terms of students, we can benefit a lot. So, thank you again for the opportunity you have given me, and I'm very available to answer to any question of yours.
I did not understand the last word, but who translated?
So thank you for your speech. I really agree with your point on common good, and we know that if we had some social problem to help the non-profit programs to go through the financial crisis. Do you have any experience with that? Can you share with us?
Yes, the experiences we are accumulating with the 50,000 non-profit organizations I mentioned before is becoming very useful. Servicing non-profit organization is often very different from servicing from a financial point of view typical companies. Very often non-profit organizations, especially the small ones, do not have the same kind of records, the same kind of accounts, the same kind of representation of their activity that normal for-profit companies have. So you must have in your bank, and that's why we created a separate bank, you must have people that understand beyond the figures, that is capable to enter into the qualitative assessment of those organizations, even if figures are not totally available, even if figures are not totally covering their activity. In a number of cases, we decided to create partnerships with the associations of the social companies that help us in understanding the creditworthiness of the single NGOs, because they have other kind of relationship, because they know them from a long period of time, and sometimes we share the responsibility of the creditworthiness evaluation with these entities. So far, the experience we are accumulating in this area is very promising and is very satisfactory. I do believe that the role of non-profit organization will grow significantly in the next years and decades, because a number of services that are part of the welfare system will not be provided by for-profit organization, and probably the government, at least in a country like ours, will not have the resources to provide all these services directly. So the role of NGOs, the role of social companies, the role of non-for-profit entrepreneurs will tend to grow in an area of policy making that will be key for the management of our societies and indirectly for the growth of our economies. Thank you.
So what did your son learn in China, and what do you hope that we can learn from Italy? I'm interested in knowing what your son is learning in China, and what do you hope that the Chinese can learn from Italy?
Probably I will not make the list of the single things you can learn in Italy or Italian students can learn in China, but what was crucial in the intellectual and personal development of my son, to take, for example, his example, was the possibility to live for a year and a half actually, in a world that in many respects is totally different from his own, with cultural roots that are not necessarily so different, but certainly have become different during history. Certainly the experience of sharing the atmosphere you are enjoying in China of rapid growth, of trust for the future, of pivotal role in the world economy is something that today you do not breathe, for example, in Europe. At the same time, a period spent by Chinese students in Italy and in Europe in general can give you the same different perspective of a part of the world that has realized a number of things that in other parts of the world has not been yet realized in terms of, for example, social welfare. It can be a way to be exposed to many different attitudes in a limited geographical space, because traveling through Europe gives you the possibility to be exposed to many different civilizations very easily. And for sure, we have in our country developed a number of solutions to the economy that can be relevant also to China. The SMEs development I was mentioning before is certainly one of these areas. We have 5 million SMEs in our country. A large number of them are very successful. Obviously, they have to cope with the problems I mentioned before, the size, the lack of resources, the difficulties in sometimes to raise money, but that would be quite an interesting know-how to get. But Italy is a country with a number of very strong technologies. It's a country that is experiencing, is experimenting a number of new solutions, especially in the third sector I was mentioning before. So I'm sure that if I were my son, I would have done the same thing. And his colleagues, the Chinese students that were part of the same program and that are now in Italy for a year, are certainly benefiting from the experience.